Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In order to study veterinary anatomy, there are essential terms that you must know to study and understand what is written in books of veterinary anatomy in this large branch of veterinary science. So in this video, I will be demonstrating some of the most important terms in studying veterinary anatomy. The first term is called plane or planes. A plane is a line that connects between 2 points, and then we can make projections from this line to divide the animal's body into two parts or more, depending on the how many planes you are using. So the main types of plane we are going to discuss. First one is called median plane. A medial plane is a plane that divides the animal's body into two equal parts. One is on the right and others on the left. So this is medial plane. As you can see here in another view, the median plane divides the animal body, this horse, into two equal parts, right part and left part. The right here is to our left, right of the horse is to your left, and the left to the horse is on your right hand. Another plane is called sagittal plane. Sagittal plane is parallel to median plane, but it divides the animal bodies into two unequal parts. So as you can see here, this sagittal plane divides the animal body into unequal parts. In other way, we can say that there is only one median plane to the animal, but there are too many sagittal planes you can make depending on what you are studying or the structures you are studying. Other plane is called the transverse plane. This plane is perpendicular to the median plane. As you can see here, this is the transverse plane. The transverse plane different in shape is different in shape depending on the anatomical site you are studying. So, for example, this is the transverse plane in the neck region. This is a transverse plane in limbs. So the transverse plane shape depends on what anatomical region you are studying. Let's get back to the other. Okay. Other plane is called horizontal plane. This plane, you can imagine that the animal is standing in a pool and the water level is the plane we are talking about. This plane is also perpendicular to each of the transverse plane and the median plane. This plane is used to describe some viscera located in the abdomen. It's not commonly used. Now, sometimes other than planes are important also to study in veterinary anatomy. The first two terms are related to the median plane. So when there is something or a surface towards the median plane or inside, let's say, we call it medial. That means it's towards the inside or towards the median plane. Where there is a structure, on the other hand, or a surface you want to describe that is going outward, or let's say in the opposite direction of the median plane, we call such a surface or structure lateral. So these two terms are very important to know and memorize. Other terms are important, such as caudal and cranial. Let's say that there is something or surface located or directing forward. We say about it cranial or cranially. The opposite, where something is directed or facing backward, we say caudal or caudally. So caudal meaning toward the tails, towards the tail, while for cranial means toward the head, or yes, mean toward it means toward the head. These two terms can be applied on the whole body except the head region. So the cranial word comes from cranium. The cranium is made up of several cranial bones. The skull of animals is divided into two parts: the cranium and the face. So when you are in the cranium region, or in the cranium, there is no more something cranial than the cranium itself. So it is illogical to say cranial in this region. Instead, to describe something that is directing forward, we use the term rostral in the head, while you can still use the term caudal to describe something in the head that is directed backward or caudally. But you can, to describe something that is forward, you can only use the term rostral or rostrally instead of cranial or cranially. Other term is dorsal or dorsal surface. That's mean the surface that is facing upward when the animal is in a normal position. Dorsal surface is isn't just when we talk about the back of the animals. Everything we can describe has a surface that is upward. You can say about it dorsal surface. For example, the neck. This is the dorsal surface of the neck. The opposite of the dorsal surface is the ventral surface. The ventral surface is the surface that is facing the ground when animal is in normal position. For example, also the neck has a ventral surface as it has a dorsal one. So as well as for the dorsal surface, the ventral surface is not only for the abdomen, it is for everything that can be described to have or facing the ground or inferiorly, let's see, inferior. And the dorsal is for anything that goes superior. Now for limbs, there are some special terms we use. To the cranial surface and caudal surface, you can still use the term cranial and caudal. For the cranial surface, you say cranial, and for the caudal surface, you can say caudal. That's until we reach this region, we call it the carpus. So when you reach the carpus and downward the carpus, you don't use these two terms anymore. Instead, we use two other terms. The first one is called dorsal surface instead of cranial surface. That comes from dorsum of the hand. The other term you use is palmar surface. Instead of caudal surface, you use palmar surface. That comes from palm of the hand. In the hind limbs, there are some similarity. You still use cranial surface. For the cranial surface, you still use cranial. For the caudal surface, you still use caudal until you reach this joint that is called tarsus of or hook joint. So when you reach tarsus and downward, you start to say on the cranial surface, the dorsal surface. And for the caudal surface, you start to say plantar surface, which comes from the plantar aspect or the sole of your foot or the animal's foot. Other terms are for the things that are close to the trunk. This is the trunk where the neck and forelimbs and hind limbs meet. We call it the trunk. For anything or any structure that is close to the trunk, we say about it proximal, which means upward when animal is standing in a normal position. Uh, on the other hand, anything that is downward or is far from the trunk, for example, like here, we call it distal. So anything is up proximal, anything is down, we call it distal. For let's say something similar to the median plane to the body. For limbs, we use the term axis. So anything is located toward the axis, we say about it axial. Anything is in the other direction, we say about it abaxial. A similar way to the medial and lateral, but this is applied on the animal's limb.